Hi guys. First one, girls. First of all, the housekeeping. I'm smoking my Nording pipe, and in it I've got my own version of Hobbit's Weed. Today I came across something from my theological college. It was a plaque, and on it had the college motto, which was "Guard the deposit." Well, I mean, you can imagine a bunch of younger theological students in high spirits. The idea of guarding the deposit, whatever the deposit was quite fascinating. So we spent quite a while wondering what the deposit actually was. But I thought it was a title that we could well have as our motto for the Pipe Club, really, or for the for the YouTube Pipe Club. Guard the deposit. What it meant for us really was guard the essentials, guard what's essential, and don't worry about what isn't essential. And that got me thinking about my life and the things I took for granted, the things I didn't take for granted, the things that I allowed affect me that really needn't have. There's very little in life actually that we need to get really upset about, because in 6 months' time it's all different. It's all changed. The big issues of the day have been long forgotten. I remember newspaper headlines that got me raging and shooting off letters to papers and various other things. And then a month later, the whole issue had changed. All the upsets were forgotten, and those that were against each other were holding hands and leading each other on. When I was working in a shop, the first thing I was taught were that there are certain things that you didn't mention to the customers. Don't mention gambling. Don't mention politics. Don't mention, shush, darling, certain things that might cause upset. And I think it's a good thing to think about. We're a dispersed group in this pipe smoking community. We've probably got as many different ideas about things as there are people. But one thing I consider is the deposit that needs to be guarded. And we need to be very careful about losing it. And that's our unity together. What brings us together? Well, there's the pipe smoking, and there's the tobaccos or cigars or even snuff. There's the different parts of the country we live in, and the videos we put up are interesting and that kind of thing. But there's something special about this group. I mean, we've always said it's so. That we look after each other, we care for each other. Not necessarily in what we do. Even it's evident in the posts and the responses to the posts. The deposit that we have is that wonderful unity. And it's something that I think we should be very careful about losing. I know there are big issues in a country or in a place that causes upset, and you respond sort of sometimes very strongly in videos. But it might be worth remembering that not everybody feels the same way you do about them. There's always going to be somebody on the other side. And it's so easy to dismiss them. To dismiss them because they don't agree. They don't do things the way you do. And the stronger response that you give to the issue, then the stronger sometimes is the need for somebody else to respond because you've touched a nerve. I don't want to get at any videos that have been up recently. But it would be sad if we allowed this group to split because of things that aren't essential, that aren't guarding the deposit. I think it's right that we have varied videos, and they're not always on smoking and tobacco, but they're usually on something that deals with our lives and with our interests and with the things that we hold as part of our life. And that's what makes them interesting to others, that we're being open, we're being honest. This is where I am. But we try not to insult other people by the words we use, by the suggestions we make. You know, if you don't agree with me, you might as well take your bat home and I'll help you pack. Or we might use offensive words to describe somebody. I know a lot of you are followers of the different political parties. I know some of you are sick to death of political parties. I know some of you follow certain sports, and I know others are sick to death of sports. But what's really important to this group? What really is it that holds us together? It's not all loving sport. It's not all agreeing with a political opinion. It's the unity we have. The determination to be friends, to be accepting of other people, to try to allow them to have their idiosyncrasies, and not necessarily to point them out. You know that I'm terrible with memories sometimes. But nobody turns around to me and says, oh, you should always, you should remember. If you don't, you're useless. You might think it, but you wouldn't want to hurt me. I think most of you will know what's brought these thoughts on in me. One of the thoughts is how easy it is for somebody to misunderstand when you disagree with them. Have they stopped liking me? Are we no longer friends? And of course we are still friends. We still hold together. We guard the deposit. So, what I'm going to try and do before I post is to think seriously about what I want to say and who it might affect, and try and be careful about expressing certain things. I'm certainly not going to mention gambling and politics, Christianity or religion. I think that's a bit more flexible because that really is part of what we are. But I think as long as we're talking about it in relation to us or to the personal and not expecting anybody else to care or to follow that, I could talk about politics. I could tell you what the English think of certain American politicians, but I won't, because I know it would be offensive to you, and it's not important. It really isn't. When I was in church, I used to do things differently to the other people in church. When I retired and I was getting over a breakdown, I didn't do things that were accepted as being the right things to do. I didn't stand for the creed. I didn't kneel for prayer or for the individual prayers. I didn't join in the individual prayers. In fact, for the whole service, I was knelt in silence. But people accepted me for the most part. One person did express the thought that I should stand out of respect for the creed. And I said, I really can't think of anything more respectful than kneeling. Imagine a medieval king. If you walked up to him and just stood there, do you think he'd think you were paying respect to him? No. It would be kneel. It would be show a reverence. It would be wait to be told before you arise. Times change, things change, and the person who was upset at me not standing made an assumption about me. They assumed that in my heart I wasn't showing respect to God. They believed they knew what I was thinking. They believed that they knew better. Guard the deposit. Guard that unity that binds us together. And if you believe something about somebody, check it out before you say. Ask them. send them a private message if it's important. Anyway, I'm going to finish with a joke, and it's probably going to be one that I hope I haven't said before. I'm getting to the stage now where I can't remember which ones I've told you, but I don't think I've told you this one. If I have, well, put it down to old age. An old man visits his doctor for a checkup and for just to see whether he's all right. You know, am I still living? And a few days later, the doctor sees him in town, and he's got his arm around this really beautiful young girl, and it's clear they're having a good time because they're sat at this table drinking champagne. And when the man goes back to the doctor says to him, "You're doing well, aren't you? You're enjoying your life?" And he says, "Yes, I am. You know, it's doing what you told me to do when I last saw you. Get a hot mama and be cheerful, you said." And the doctor said, "No. I said, you've got a heart murmur and be careful."